In theory, it should be loading. Appreciate everyone's patience. Probably been, oh shoot, a couple months since done a live stream here. Let's see here. Perfect. Giddy up. Let's see. Got a couple folks in the lobby, or what do you call it, the chat. So appreciate it. Do me a favor and just drop, don't pay for the super chat thingamajig. Just chat anything. So make sure you test that, make sure it's working for us. Well, looks like it's good to go. So appreciate everyone taking the time to tune in today. This is Saturday. We're going to do a live review of Kamala Harris's unedited 60-minute interview. This topping show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say, he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, you see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more. Yes, of course, it does come with a fun Picatinny rail adapter, so you can mount it to any standard AR-15, like all awesome accessories can be. Again, go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more, or click the URL in the video description below once I repost this. Lastly, try to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going to Kamala Harris's 60-minute interview, now unedited in all of its glory. Perhaps I should not gloat too much. Perhaps I should like Kamala Harris, since she is perhaps one of 8 people on the planet who makes me look like an articulate speaker in comparison. Now, this is posted on, well, all over X, but we're going to use Sean Farish, who posted it himself on his platform. He says, quote, "The full, unedited 60-minute interview with Kamala Harris during the 2024 campaign has been released. It's worse than we thought. Here it is, if you dare. We shall." Now, granted, perhaps this is, well, let me know in the comments. Will this be perhaps a dark drama in terms of a movie category for Saturday night? What could have been if she won, heaven forbid? Well, to the economy, our gun rights, pretty much our country. Or will it just be a hilarious comedy because of her myriad of ineptitudes? Either way, should be entertaining. Let's dive on in.
Okay, and then you know that mold is at an all-time high today, which is the one thing I am allergic to.
Yeah.
Okay. Pollen is down.
Those Volkswagen-sized earrings.
Mold is up. You know, I know that as a matter of fact, because I was watching CBS this morning. They
There
have
you
the
go.
little streaming. Now that I think about it.
Learn something new every day.
Indeed.
She reminds me of Dennis from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Coming around.
That laugh.
Got it on both? Okay, so we need to clear the background. Good, Don? Yes.
No problem. Just do what you need to do.
We're all perfectly happy?
Everybody happy? Good?
I'm good.
All right. Well, Madam Vice President, one, thank you for doing this.
Of course.
And thank you for inviting us into your home.
Of course.
We're going to be running this on the anniversary of the Hamas attack
Yeah.
on Israel.
October 7th.
So let's just start with
Hang
Israel.
on 1 second, Bill.
Yeah.
Sorry, we had someone in the background. I'm afraid you're gonna have to re-ask that.
Okay, whoever's in the dining room? It was me. Okay.
So yeah, just to start with
And we are going to do what is important to support whatever leadership is in Israel that is defending the security of the state of Israel.
Let's shift gears here. Most basic of questions. Why do you want to be President of the United States?
There are many reasons, but probably first and foremost, I truly believe in the promise of America.
Why she?
I do. And I love the
Why she keep saying how evil America is, how bad America is? It's like half her campaign.
American people. You know, we are a people who have ambition and aspirations and dreams and optimism and hope. If you look at the character of who we are and how we have achieved the strength that we
Very
have
simple
achieved,
question.
I believe in large part it is because of our character and our belief in the promise of America.
Or Trump just go, make America great again. People are struggling economically. I mean, fiscally speaking, inflation is destroying most folks. But no, she has word salad. Again, if I want to be successful in politics, or shoot, most things in life, usually more succinct and articulate, you can get your ideals across the table, the better. She seems like
And I'm
a
running
used
for
car
president
salesman.
because
A used, what's the most pejorative of all the cars? A used Nissan sales representative. That is perhaps the job Kamala Harris is qualified for.
I want to do everything that is possible to create an opportunity for people to achieve those goals, those ambitions, and those dreams. And that is why you will hear me talk about my plan for an opportunity economy, to invest in what we can do, not only to bring the cost of living and prices down for folks, because
Oh, she's hilarious. Never forget, she was on the tiebreaker votes for the Inflation Reduction Act, one of the most perversely named bills that was just a bunch of, what's a nice way of saying this? Hogwash, I think Europeans would say it. We just say bullshit, so I'll just say bullshit. But yeah, a bill that caused record inflation by just pumping more money in the economy on crap like green energy that's just not green fiscally speaking, or when we actually look at the, how it actually helps or hurts the planet, I would argue it's not good for that either.
so we've achieved a lot of success. Prices are still too high. You know it, I know it. But what we can do to invest in the innovation that is happening in startups and our small businesses, what we can do to invest in the industries of the future, what we can do to maintain.
Where if you have more policies like California, small businesses, yeah, let's just say most businesses are leaving in general. She's trying to pretend like, oh yeah, we're great for small business. We're going to help them get off the ground. What? More small businesses died than ever before under her administration, or the
America's
Biden-Harris administration.
strength in the global context.
But that's why you want to run. That's why you want to be.
That's why I'm
president.
running. That and some other reasons.
But you're asking the American people
Because she wants to stop
make you
Batman.
the most powerful person on the planet. Why do you deserve the American people's votes?
Well, first of all, I have a career and a history of being very clear that I think of my role of leadership, and in particular now for the last 4 years as vice president and moving forward as president, if the voters will have me, as being a leader on behalf of all Americans. As you know, I spent the majority of my career as a prosecutor.
In California.
And I'm going to tell you, I never asked a victim of crime, a witness, whether they were a Democrat, are you a Republican, are you an independent? The only thing I ever asked folks is, are you okay? And I believe that America deserves...
Remember when she actually withheld evidence so that someone else almost went to death row? When she got people past their due date in prison for free labor? Remember when she arrested thousands of men for smoking the devil's lettuce, which, again, that was the law, and yet she herself went on a podcast and she laughed when someone asked, well, weren't you smoking at the time? And she's a hypocrite, a POS.
Deserves a leader who works on behalf of all Americans and understands the importance of knowing that the vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us. And my career and my work has always been about being
Sleeping right at the top.
grounded in common sense approaches to getting things done. And
Such bullshit.
when it comes to what we need to do as it relates to national security, we just had that conversation. That includes understanding and respecting the power and the strength of the United States of America and our then responsibility to be a global leader.
Yeah, she shouldn't have her name in any way associated with the word security. More illegals passed the southern border of the United States in the past 4 years than ever before. 11 plus million illegals. Also, for the umpteenth time, don't you think that obnoxious Volkswagen-sized earring she has is secretly a microphone for her handler or someone else? Or more accurately, a speaker for her? I mean, she wears those same earrings with every stupid-ass outfit she wears. And I have female friends. They tell me they like to accessorize. They don't wear one pair of earrings for everything every single time. I mean, I'm a guy. I wear the same watch every day, but I don't really care too much about my fashion. I wear the same suit every day as well. But for me, I would argue just, pick once and I'm good for life. But that's just me.
To nurture and strengthen our alliances around the world, to respect the U.S. military and its most noble mission, to do the work of appreciating alliances, be it NATO or others,
What a waste of money.
to do the work of pursuing diplomacy when it is in the best interest of our national security and prosperity. And my experiences tell me not only that those must be priorities of the United States of America and the President of the United States of America and the Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America, but also all of those experiences tell me that the American people in this election
She's still
have a
talking?
clear choice. Because on the other side of the equation,
Sanity.
we are looking at the former president, Donald Trump, who has shown himself
Have a track record
to
of success?
be, when he was a commander-in-chief, someone who gave away America's standing in terms of our principles of standing up to dictators and autocrats. You see how he compliments Putin even today.
First president in our lifetime to have no new wars. Again, I'd love to have Kamala Harris. She didn't have any to speak of, but it's got to be a hard position she was in because she had no accomplishments, no bullet points for her presentation. That's why she sounds like a broken, bastardized Hallmark card. Not that there's anything wrong with Hallmark. Great company, I'm sure. They make crayons, believe it or not.
Who was prepared to walk away from our alliances. NATO.
Good, because every one of those lazy POS other countries weren't paying their fair share. Like her party, I mean, half her mantra is, pay your fair share. In this case, fiscally speaking, by the contract of NATO, the U.S. and only one or two other countries were the only ones who were putting in the money that was the appropriate percentage of their GDP. Everyone else is putting in significantly less into their military defense and into NATO. See, that's why maybe I should like Kamala Harris. She speaks, well, it might be debate in and of itself who speaks more articulately, her or I. But yeah, why do we keep paying into things like NATO where Lord knows how do they help us again? And we put in the most amount of money? Like, where's the upside in that?
Is the strongest military alliance the world has ever known.
Has it ever helped us?
We have seen someone in Donald Trump who openly criticizes the United States military, men and women, who are prepared to, at great sacrifice, serve our country and defend the principles upon which we were founded. He calls them suckers and losers.
But
Even
Madam
Snopes says
Vice
that's wrong.
President,
So, let's be clear. First of all, a lot of the positions that you were talking about have been discussed and dispensed with in 2020, 4 years ago. But let me be clear on something. In the last 4 years, I have been Vice President of the United States. Not a senator from a particular state, not coming from a particular state, but Vice President of the United States of America. And I have been traveling our country, and I have been listening to folks and seeking
But what have you done?
what is possible in terms of common ground, common sense solutions, building consensus. And that is why I have taken the positions that I take. Not dispensing with my values, but understanding we have to, a real leader has to find consensus. So, for example, on the issue of fracking, I've been very clear since 2020. I will not end fracking. I did not
Now
as
she
Vice
says that.
President. In fact, as Vice President of the United States, I cast the decisive vote. I broke the tie in Congress that now allows more leases for fracking.
You wouldn't let them
On
drill
the
on it.
issue of
You give out
healthcare in
leases.
America, my value has always been that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it, which is why I
It's not.
cast the tie-breaking vote.
You're not entitled to someone else's labor. Pretty sure we made that illegal a long time ago.
In the United States Congress that has now allowed us to cap the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month.
Trump did that. Trump put out the plan for that. He enacted it. Biden killed it, and then Biden brought it back. So again, more lies.
Work that I have been a part of and helped lead about capping the cost of prescription medication for our seniors at $2,000 a year.
More lies again.
All born out of my belief that we need to bring the price of medication down because it has been too expensive for too many people to the point that they couldn't even afford to fill their prescription. That's why I've been a huge advocate for what we have accomplished finally to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of the American people.
You have said that your values haven't changed, but your positions have. And I think people want to know, is this evolution or, as your critics say, opportunism?
I think that we should understand the importance of a leader building consensus. I believe in building consensus. And I believe
she'll do whatever the crowd
finding
wants.
a way that the American people, and we are a diverse people,
I don't think she has any original thoughts.
geographically, regionally, based on whether it be urban, rural, agricultural, we are a on an issue I've taken on before as Attorney General, the issue of price gouging, which is not all, but some corporations and
Oh, how mentally vacuous she is, and many of her voters. I say that because do a modicum of research about the grocery industry. Most of the companies in the grocery industry have been around for decades and are publicly traded. You can look at their 10K. It takes not even a fraction of a second to go on the Google and look at it. The average profit margin for the grocery industry is 2%. Also known as nothing. That is razor thin margins. Pharmaceuticals like 50+%. Groceries like 2%. Albertsons, one of the largest chains, they own many brands on their portfolio. Their profit margin is about 1.6%, I believe, in Q4 2024. It's terrible profit margins. These grocery stores are not raking you over the coals or overcharging us for these groceries. It's the increase in the cost of goods sold to them. Again, they have razor thin margins. Even Walmart, which they offset the grocery sale losses by having things like, junk you don't need, like TVs, t-shirts, and other knickknacks, sporting goods. Walmart profit margins is still less than 3%, and that's with the other crap like jewelry, TVs, and t-shirts. Grocery stores are not ripping you off. That's one of the biggest lies from the Democrat Party past couple of years. Again, that's why, just think about this. When was the last time you heard of a new startup for a grocery store? We hear Starbucks in pretty much every other industry in the US, but there's not a lot of startups in grocery stores. Look at Kroger. They've been around for 60+ years. Same with Albertsons. Same with Target. Same with Walmart. H-E-B, I think, was founded in, was it the 80s or 70s? They've been around forever. Because, again, the razor thin margins. So, yeah, saying, oh, yeah, these greedy grocery stores, they're not. They're making like 2% profit on that apple you're buying. Oh, I should clarify. The delicious apple, not the ridiculously, $3 to $4 grand apple product from, the tech company. But I partially digress.
businesses that take advantage of a crisis and jack prices up, making the cost of groceries and other everyday essentials too expensive for the American people.
But
I'm taking on the issue of housing. It's a big issue in our country.
You know what would help with housing? If you didn't have 11+ million illegals competing for apartments and houses. And that's not that's not a negligible variable as raising the cost of housing. Also, rules and regulations make it prohibitive to build housing in certain parts of the country, especially.
Too expensive. There were generations before us that believed they could achieve the American dream, which included home ownership.
And you stole that
Now,
dream.
I travel our country. I talk to young people every day. And they are so concerned they'll never be able to afford to buy a home or even start a family because of the cost of housing. So
It's also hard when the government steals 30, 40, 50% of your paycheck when you take into account state income tax, federal income tax, sales tax, and all the other extortion we deal with these days. Shoot. I'm still renting a house. Up to get a house one of these days. Maybe a ranch, my dream. That's the dream. But, imagine every dollar we earn, how much do we really get to keep at the end of the day? That percentage is probably depressingly small. If you didn't have to pay any taxes, imagine how much easier and conceivable it would be to afford a house these days.
part of my plan is to put the resources into partnering with builders and developers to create incentives for them to build 3 million new homes by the end of my first term.
They don't need incentives. You can I would argue deregulate them, maybe lower their taxes, give them those types of incentives. Was home builders want to build homes. That's quite literally their job.
And
It's like
my
the diamond
plan
industry where they want to
giving
artificially lower it.
first-time home buyers a $25,000 down payment assistance so they can just get their foot in the door.
Well, let's talk about that. You
Great way to
wanna
cause inflation.
expand, the child tax credit.
Yes, I do.
You want to give tax breaks to first-time home buyers.
Yes.
And people starting small businesses.
genius
hardworking
exemplar.
folk who know that it is not right that hardworking people are paying a higher tax rate than the richest people who can afford to pay their fair share. So that's how we deal
He
with
uses
it.
that
But
Marxist
understand
language.
also that this is, yes, it is about how we pay for what we're doing, but understand it's not, it doesn't end there. My plan is actually about strengthening America's economy.
Why haven't you done it
Not
yet
just
then?
netting zero. My plan is about doing what we can do for small businesses and startups. Right now, the tax deduction bill for a startup, $5,000. In 2024, nary a person going to be able to start a small business with $5,000. So I'm going to extend it to $50,000.
What did she say?
And nurses. Their
A rap song?
constituents are middle-class, hardworking folk who know that it is not right that hardworking people are paying a higher tax rate than the richest people who can afford to pay their fair share. So that's how we deal with it. But understand also,
Just going for the
that
Trump
this
hand
is-
gestures.
Yes, it is about how we pay for what we're doing, but understand it's not, it doesn't end there. My plan is actually about strengthening America's economy, not just netting zero. My plan is about doing what we can do for small businesses and startups. Right now, the tax deduction bill for a startup, $5,000. In 2024, nary a person going to be able to start a small business with $5,000.
Nary a person.
So I'm going to extend it to $50,000. My plan is about what we need to do to, yes, expand the child tax credit, because for young families, for the first year of their child's life, $6,000 allows them to buy a crib, a car seat, and just
Yeah, cribs
be
you
able
buy.
to not
Expensive.
just get by, but get ahead for that most critical stage of their child's development. We all benefit from that. We all benefit from that.
I understand, but that sounds great. It does. It all
But
sounds
how?
good. But
It's like a mentality of a
the
child.
reality is these tax cuts have been in place for years.
They're about to expire. And
No.
care about the deficit in a way that they know. We must address it by making sure that our tax policy reflects fairness.
Again, those
and,
Marxist words she
again,
uses every 5 seconds. Pay your fair
understand
share.
none of us, and
Fairness.
certainly I cannot afford to be myopic in terms of how I think about
That's a big word for her.
America's economy.
I'm impressed, actually.
And that has to include, where are we investing our resources in a way that we maximize the return on the investment? Let me tell you something. I am a devout public servant. You know that. I am also a capitalist.
No, she's not.
And I know the limitations of government. Part of the work I've always done,
party doesn't
and the work
believe in
I will do
limitations
as
of government.
president, includes engaging the private sector to join in what we can do, whether it be, again, tax incentives for builders or developers, or what we need to do to increase the work I've already done to get some of our biggest finance houses and corporations to invest in community banks to increase access to capital for small businesses.
So
All
if-
of this work must be done, but we have to have a holistic approach.
Can't
that
answer
is
anything, can she?
comprehensive.
I guess what I was asking, if all of this makes so much sense, why has this not been done? You're dealing with a Congress that is divided, that many are in opposition to not only you, but your policies. So how are you
question.
going to make this
Bill,
come true?
if I approached my life as though, well, it's never been done before, therefore it cannot be done, I wouldn't be sitting here in this interview with you.
Not what he's asking. He's asking why are you waiting? Why not do it now?
But I do believe that we have to have leadership in our country as we turn the page on all of these sadly powerful forces that have been trying to divide us.
Talking about yourself there?
We have to turn the page on that and chart a new way forward that is driven by building consensus and building common ground. Listen, you look at my campaign. I am supported by over 200 former members of Mitt Romney, John McCain,
Useless rhino.
both President Bush, and even former President Trump's teams. I have the support of people Republicans, who
Rhinos.
understand what is at stake in this election, be it as it relates to our democracy and our most fundamental principles. And
You have their support.
I
Why don't
do
you get stuff
believe
done
based
now?
on a
For past 4 years.
collective understanding we have that America's politics has to get back to the place of encouraging healthy debate, but not division for the sake of division.
Right from her?
Just a couple more economic questions here.
Sure.
Donald Trump says that tariffs on imports, well, that would be the solution to all of our economic woes. You criticize his plan for tariffs, yet the Biden-Harris administration has left many of the Trump-era tariffs in place,
Yep.
Especially when it regards China. And President Biden has, in fact, expanded some of those tariffs. Would you continue the Trump-era tariffs if you're elected?
So part of the real problem that economists and others have pointed out about Trump's approach
Let's say yes or no.
in this election, he is advocating what is at least a 20% tariff across the board on everyday necessities and goods, which economists have estimated will cost the average American family more than almost $4,000 a year, more than what they're already paying.
But you've got tariffs.
Goods, but let me get to my point. On everyday goods, so a across the board blanket policy on tariffs for everyday goods and necessities. Tariff policy we cannot afford to have.
Interesting question. Why aren't everyday goods and necessities made in America? You know, it'd be a good idea for those things that aren't made here. Maybe get some deregulation in there to make it easier to manufacture things here. Might be a good idea.
Is just a blind policy without looking at what we are talking about and what will it induce, what will it incentivize. On the point about China, look.
American manufacturing, other countries to pay fair. There are a myriad of incentives and mechanisms and byproducts that can occur from tariffs.
America has to win the competition for the 21st century as it relates to China. And we need to have policy that includes investing in
How many
America,
times did Tim Walz visit China again? I forgot.
investing in American workers, investing in American manufacturing, investing in American supply chain. And that is, I believe, smart and important policy, not only for the sake of our security, but also our prosperity.
So let's move on to immigration.
You can't plus years.
These incredible men and women who are working around the clock, because again, they don't have the resources they need. We need an act of Congress who carries the purse to do it. Donald Trump told them don't act. I talked with the Border Patrol agents, some of the leaders. Part of the issue that they identified is we need more asylum judges. We need more processing of people who are coming to our border.
Or just
and
a
the
wall.
resources aren't there. You know how those resources commensurate with the need get dedicated? Congress has to act.
But I guess my question is, it's a pretty simple one. If this is the right answer now, what you tried to do with the bipartisan bill.
And what we tried to do on day one, Bill.
Bullshit bill,
and
was
what
not bipartisan.
we tried to do on day one, when we came in, first order of business before we did the Inflation Reduction Act, before we did successfully, by the way,
That
without
BS
one
act.
Republican vote, before we did the bipartisan infrastructure bill, before we passed the first meaningful piece of legislation to deal with gun violence in America in 30 years, the first thing we did was to offer a comprehensive solution to create a pathway for citizenship and for people
Bullshit.
to earn it and to
More amnesty, decade after decade again. They're not even treating the symptom. They never want to address the actual problem.
deal with what we need to do to put more resources to ensure that we are able to heighten our level of security at the border.
So we do need to.
No wonder they didn't release this unedited with all this. I mean, you thought she did bad during the actual election. She would have done worse. Well, maybe not, because fascinating statistic, was it 14 of the 15 states she won did not require or check voter ID. So maybe this one made a difference anyway.
Move on because our time is short. But
Yeah, let's move on because you can't answer
I'm
questions.
trying to understand how it is that with this emphasis on the border, the numbers of crossings quadrupled under the first 3 years of the Biden-Harris administration. How did that happen?
There are a variety.
Well, they repealed, again, 50 plus executive orders passed by Donald Trump. Probably one of the most important ones was the state of Mexico policy as well.
Of factors that relate to
Your
what we have
ineptitudes,
seen
those are the factors.
globally and what we are not immune from at our own border in terms of what we have seen in terms of surge of immigration and irregular migration. And there are solutions at hand, but we've got to have leaders who are solution oriented.
You were there.
which
You're leading.
we've been
What do you do?
and are, and I am going forward. Instead of leaders who want to make it a problem they can run on.
It's talking about that person you're mentioning right now. You have accused Donald Trump of using racist tropes when it comes to Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, when it comes to birtherism, when it comes
They're eating the
to
cats.
so-and-so.
They're eating the dogs.
You have called him a
Something
racist
more.
and divisive. Yet Donald Trump has the support of millions and millions of Americans.
See.
How do you explain that?
Gee.
So let's just break down what you just talked about and talk about it in the context of the words that Donald Trump has spoken.
Remember when there's record unemployment for African American folks? Oh yeah, that was when Trump was in office. Not a fun fact.
And the actions he has taken,
Record low
and
unemployment.
whether that is reflective of who we are as Americans, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us.
That's not an
We
answer.
have a former president who wants to be president again, who has a bouquet of microphones in front of him,
Okay.
who has said the most vile lies
Name him.
about a group of legal immigrants in Springfield, Ohio. And if I may, Bill, let me just say something. You know, from the time I was a prosecutor
Oh jeez.
to attorney general to now vice president, I learned very early in my career. When the voters bestow on you the authority to have these positions, you must be very thoughtful about how you use that microphone in front of you. And, you know, when I was attorney general, the words I spoke could move markets. So the idea
Out of your state.
that the former president, who again is running to be president, would use that microphone in a way that is about vilifying and demeaning a whole population of people. You know what has happened because of that?
What?
One day, when this happened, was a school day, picture day for an elementary school. Picture day.
She makes
You know
me
what picture
my
day
speaking
is for
sound
our
great.
children? They get excited the night before. You put out the clothes they're going to wear. They go to school making sure their faces are clean and their hair is done. And they go to school for picture day. And you know what happened to these children? They had to evacuate that day because of the fear of the threats that were being issued in Springfield because of the words of Donald Trump. So I say that I'm glad you are pointing these comments out that he has made that have resulted in a response by most reasonable people to say it's just wrong. It's just wrong.
So you have said you want to be the president of all the people.
Yeah.
It says a kindergarten teacher.
And I have traveled around our country, and I've met with people of every background and walk of life, including people who have supported Donald Trump in the past, who say to me they're ready to turn the page, they're exhausted with what he has been doing and that approach, and they want to chart a new way forward for our country.
So was democracy best served by President Biden stepping down and basically handing you a nomination?
Installing her.
You didn't have to go through a primary process. You didn't have to fight
cheated.
off other.
Also, let me know in the comments because I don't think. I mean, so the rumor is that Obama, as well as Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi got a call. They said, "Hey, Biden, hey Joe, we're gonna if you don't step down, we're gonna kick you out. We're gonna do the 25th Amendment. We're gonna tell the folks you're insane." Which, I mean, that was why Biden was never actually charged for having the files that were improperly stored. The prosecutor literally said, "Well, he's not mentally stable to stand trial, so we're not gonna prosecute him." Never forget that was the reason they didn't prosecute him for the improper storage of those top secret files. Interesting.
Other contenders.
So they pushed him out. And again, the rumor is they said, if you don't step down, we're just going to force you out. 20th Amendment. And I always wondered, as a rumor, I wonder if Biden even knew it all. If they just said, we tweeted for you, Biden, you're done. Because again, Biden didn't go on camera and say that he was dropping out willingly. Every time Biden was on camera, he was very adamant about he wanted to run. Again, the American people, they chose him. They voted for him in the primary. They wanted him. And yet, in a tweet where we know he does not control his Twitter or his X account, we had multiple times where Karine Jean-Pierre, she was actually tweeting in his vernacular. So she accidentally tweeted from his account. So we know Biden doesn't tweet, but he probably still thinks tweets is something that only birds do. So someone else, I would venture to say, I think they just tweeted for him and said, "Hey, Biden, it's done." Let me know what your thoughts are, and what was the actual mechanism and what was the order of operations of how he was forced out? Because I don't think he willingly stepped down. Again, he was very adamant about running every time he's in front of the camera. Not very articulately, but nevertheless, he got his point across.
That's not really the way our system was intended to work.
That's not democracy at all.
President Biden.
Never forget, quick ADHD, moderate ADHD on this note. Yeah, the Democrats, the superdelegates. Never forget, the people voted for Bernie Sanders back in 2016. They wanted him. He won the delegates, but they installed Hillary Clinton, which perhaps in hindsight was great because it made for some epic debates, and obviously Trump won. But yeah, they installed Hillary Clinton. Most morally, well, wait, actually clarify this. Hillary Clinton is a very beautiful, intelligent, wise woman who does not have a statistically improbable number of people who just committed suicide, 28 plus people. She's completely innocent, brilliant, brave, and all those types of things. Just for the record, I want to throw that out there. Also, coincidentally speaking, I don't own any rope And I plan to live a very long and fulfilling life. Just want to throw that out there. But I partially digress.
Made a decision that I think history is going to show is rare among leaders, which was to put country before self.
Excuse me.
True Marxist fashion
I am
would
proud
insult
to have
someone.
earned the support of the vast majority of delegates
No.
and to have been elected the Democratic nominee
Installed.
to be Vice President of the United States. I am honored to have received the support and endorsement of over 200 Republicans who served in the last 3 Republican presidential administrations.
Useless rhinos no one gives a damn about. That's hilarious. One of the most hilarious juxtapositions on who supports Trump and who supports Kamala Harris. Well, because Democrats, and I'll say leftists, really pushed out so many moderates of their party, RFK Jr., he's not a Republican. He's on Trump's team. Tulsi Gabbard, she was a brilliant, articulate politician and veteran. I mean, they pushed her out. Now she went to the right side of history, as some might say. They pushed everyone out with a lot of common sense. Even a lot of my friends who are Democrats, lifelong Democrats, their policies are just so asinine and insane, they pushed them over to the right side. And she's trying to say, oh yeah, I totally wasn't installed. I was very qualified. Were you? Or did you just sleep your way to the top? Which, again, look at her history. Yeah, pretty disgusting.
I am proud to have earned the support of leaders of our national security.
Yeah, leaders and Republicans like Dick Cheney. Yeah, most Republicans these days, not big fans of him. So you got support of 200 Republicans or 200 rhinos no one gives a damn or no one respects. That's probably a more accurate summation of who supported her from the old school Republican Party, which I give Trump credit that Republican Party's gone. No one wants it back.
Community. I am proud to have received the endorsement of leaders around this country from every background and walk of life.
Big
to
Pharma, Big Tech.
fight in this election over the next month for our democracy and the principles upon which it stands.
It's kind of ironic and funny. She keeps saying we're a democracy. It's all about the people. We illegally censored so many millions of Americans by colluding with big tech to take down videos and take down memes and memes. Oh yeah, that was you. Who wanted to disarm Americans? Oh yeah, that was you.
What is at stake in this election?
Everything.
You mentioned our
Never forget Tim Walz, which people say I'm weird and awkward. I mean, in comparison, I am an exemplar of articulate speaking and brilliance compared to Kamala and Tim. But Tim Walz famously said, there's no guarantee of free speech. He said hate speech isn't protected. He said disinformation is not protected. Which, spoiler, it is. I know a lot of people on his side of the political aisle don't read the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, anything like that. But yeah, it's called the First Amendment, thank God. It's usually insured by the Second Amendment. Yeah, one of those things where common, uncontroversial speech really doesn't need to be protected. I mean, it's not controversial, no one's going to attack it. It's the bombastic, awkward, and weird speech that needs to be protected, and the hate speech is, well, as they say it, it's not hate speech, it's speech that they hate. Yeah, so as much as, I find hate speech disdainful, disgusting, disdainful, but I still believe it's protected. And they're the ones that would shut down free speech. And they did shut down free speech by colluding with big tech. Mark Zuckerberg released the files. And Elon Musk did too. Hopefully someday he's actually held accountable and actually get a day in court. But we'll see about that.
democracy is whether we are a nation that abides by and respects the rule of law, and that we have a president who
Rule of law? she's better than Bert Kreischer or Tom Segura. She doing stand-up right now? Rule of law. During the George Floyd Summer of Love riots, she helped bail out some rioters in Minnesota. Rule of law. Jeez, yeah.
the champion
Over $2 billion in property damage and dozens dead from the George Floyd riots. Yeah, she says, oh yeah, they believe in democracy and law. Yeah, right.
of following and respecting and upholding rule of law.
But I would
Not
think that-
someone who has been convicted of 34
Oh yeah, and then Tim Walz actually had the police shooting people with paintball guns if they were standing on their front porch during the COVID lockdowns. Because you had to quarantine inside your house.
felonies who tried to overturn the free and fair election, which was the will of the people on January 6th. Not someone
How many feds were on the ground that
who
day?
has said he would be a dictator on day one. Not someone who has said.
He said in regards to drill baby drill for oil and exploration and energy independence. This is the same out of context manipulation when they said, oh yeah, Trump is calling for a bloodbath, with when he was saying it was a fiscal term in regards to the automotive community, which again, thanks to, you know, pushing EVs in other countries like China being manufacturing juggernauts. Yeah, without tariffs to stop companies like BYD from entering the US market, I mean, it is going to be a bloodbath. You see the traditional big three automotive American manufacturing for automobiles, they're getting slaughtered. Stellantis, I mean, their profits and sales went down 40+% in Q3 and Q4. Same with their revenue. It was rough. So he was talking about the automotive industry being a bloodbath. And of course, well, maybe she'll surprise us with her honesty. Maybe she'll clarify, oh, actually, he's just talking about the auto industry. Because again, it's an economic term. Probably not, but maybe she'll be honest. Let's flip a coin. What are the odds?
And these are his words. He would terminate the Constitution of the United States of America.
But I think this truncated process is why people think or say they don't really know who you are.
Well, Bill, there's no question. Look, I've been in this race for...
Good question. What Batman villain do you think she reminds you of the most? Because for months, or shoot, years, many people are comparing her to the Joker because of her awkward laugh. However, maybe she's more like the Riddler? Or perhaps Two-Face? Or an amalgamation of all three? I mean, Tim Walz kind of does look like the Penguin. Maybe it's not out of the wrong possibility.
70 days. And there is work to be done. It is, without any question, a short period of time. There's no question about that, which is why I'm traveling around our country. As I said earlier, I mean, you've seen me. I'm from one state to the next to the next. I don't know how many states I've been in this last week alone. Literally, I've lost count. So it is my responsibility to earn the vote. And I'm going to work to do that.
3/4 of the American voters, or likely voters, say that they are concerned about the possibility of election-related violence. And with 2 assassination attempts against former President Trump, the country seems near a...
Fascinating how all the assassination attempts and violence is always against one side of the political party throughout history. Sure, it's just coincidence, of course. Also, we still don't know all the weird things about those assassinations. In other acts of violence, we know everything about the perpetrator in minutes, it seems. Yeah, never forget the official story from the U.S. government and the Secret Service from that gal, the Pepsi gal. Well, she used to be in charge of Pepsi security. Never forget, the reason they said they didn't have counter snipers on that roof was because it was a sloped roof. That was the official reason from the Secret Service of why that POS that shot Trump was on that roof. Oh yeah, we couldn't have guys in there because it's slanted. Yeah, I'm surprised she actually did step down. With the U.S. government, with their, well, I would say with their track record of ineptitude and corruption, I'm sure she wasn't given a raise.
Boiling point. What can you do? What should you do to...
Maybe stop calling Trump a Nazi every 18 seconds, which her political party exclusively does, as well as the mainstream media. Again, when Trump was shot the first time, or the first assassination attempt, it's kind of crazy you have to delineate because there's been multiple attempts. I mean, there's about 18 seconds where folks like Biden and Obama said, hey, we need to, stop being so bombastic. We need to cool off. We're all on the same team. We all want America to get better. And like within 23 minutes later, they were back to calling him a Nazi and saying he was the most evil threat. I mean, Biden multiple times said he was a threat to democracy. It's almost as if they wanted it to happen. They keep calling him the most evil people in history. Of course, their supporters are going to go act in evil ways.
Lower the temperature.
Well, first let's start with those attempts, assassination attempts on the former president. I was deeply...
Hey, Leaf Holt, appreciate you coming in here. Says hello, just showed up. What did you miss? Her talking about the kids and how they looked at just fluff, screwing around the issues, and plucking the heartstrings. Yep, pretty much. I don't think she's actually answered a single substance or single question of any modicum of substance. I I mean, the upside is her speaking is so bad, she makes me look like a scholar in comparison. So there's that silver lining of Kamala Harris. Her ineptitudes make anyone else around her look really, really smart, with the exception perhaps being Tim Walz. So no, there's a reason they buried most of this interview. She hasn't had a single cognitive, answer or really bullet point of her accomplishments or why to vote for her. It was all just emotional rhetoric to the upteenth degree. And let me know in the comments. I still suspect those earrings, they're so the size of a Volkswagen, and they look very similar to the ones on the internet that people are passing around the picture. They said, hey, this looks just like an earring, which is also a transmitter. So it actually will, tell you what someone is speaking over like a microphone. But yeah, let me know, Leaf. Do you wear the same earring? I don't know, can't see your profile picture too well, but if you're a female, do you wear the same pair of earrings with every outfit you wear? I mean, I asked my sister, my family member, and some of my female friends. I don't know anyone who does that. Most gals I know like to, accessorize. I mean, shoot, not me, obviously, wear the same watch every day for years and same suit, but I know most gals like to flare things up and switch it up. She wears the same earrings the whole campaign. And ever since she started wearing them, she did sound more articulate than usual. The bar is quite low, but still, she sounded a little bit better.
Disturbed, shocked, and shaken, frankly, when they happened. I called the former president to check on him, but it is really
Must have been
important
an awkward
that
call.
all of us speak loudly, regardless of who we're voting for, to say our differences have to be settled at the ballot box and not through.
And the next day, she was back to calling him a Nazi and the most evil, a threat to democracy. They were saying it was going to be the last election ever. What did they think was going to happen?
Violence. We cannot lose our soul in terms of who we are as Americans by resorting to violence to settle our differences, much less to make a decision about who's going to be the next president of the United States.
Let's hit on some more foreign policy.
There's a bug in here.
Which foreign country do you consider to be
Let's see, there's a
our-
flyer or something in front of her, so she had to bat it away.
In terms of who we are as Americans.
So let me rewind it really quick.
By resorting to violence
Party of
to
violence.
settle our differences, much less to make a decision about who's going to be the next president of the United States.
Let's hit on some more foreign policy.
There's a bug in here.
Which foreign country do you consider to be our greatest adversary?
Well, there are different reasons that we should be thoughtful about each.
Each country.
Recently, I
Awful.
think there's an obvious one in mind, which is Iran.
Iran.
And look, I mean, Iran has American
That's-
blood on their hands. Okay? And
That's the biggest threat to our country. Again, I understand they have bad people in terms of terrorist activity, and there's some bad stuff happening there. But the average American, after ask the average American, who do you think is our biggest opponent, the biggest threat? Who's taking our jobs, our economy? Who's the biggest threat? Iran? Most Americans don't give a damn about that country. Now, who are we losing to left and right in the trade war? Who takes more and more of our manufacturing? Who rips off our intellectual property left and right, destroying a lot of entrepreneurs that are trying to get their business off the ground? That'd be China. China, which is also manufacturing record amounts of fentanyl components that are shipped to Mexico, manufactured to the end product there, and then shipped across or sent across the southern border. But I'm pretty surprised though. She did say a single country. I'll give her some credit. She actually did have an answer. This is the first time. What is this? After 44 minutes and 14 seconds, that's the first time she actually had an articulate response. Not a good one, but nevertheless, the first time she actually answered a question somewhat.
and what we saw in terms of just this attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles, what we need to do to ensure that Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power, that is one of my highest priorities.
So if you
And
have
that must
proof
be.
that Iran is building a nuclear weapon, would you take military action?
I'm not going to talk about hypotheticals at this moment.
Of course not.
What about China? China is strongly asserting its dominance, its control of the South China Sea, especially around
Yeah.
everywhere with the Silk Road Initiative.
What is the U.S. responsibility for keeping China from simply taking over?
Yeah, people also don't forget the botched Afghanistan withdrawal. One of the biggest blunders of the Biden-Harris campaign or Biden-Harris administration. Guess what country came swooping in to make business deals once the U.S. left? Yeah, China. Guess what they have a little bit amount of in the Middle East? Precious metals, lithium. That's pretty important. Yeah. Yet another ineptitude.
South China Sea.
Well, I have actually worked very closely with the leaders in the Philippines on just this very issue, and including the work that we are doing in terms of coordination between our military and training and what needs to happen in terms of protecting the freedom of the South China Sea. China, first of all, we must win the competition for the 21st century with China. We must be able to compete and win. We should not seek conflict, but we have to understand that there are parameters in which we must operate that include ensuring, for example, that we protect American business interests.
So say if
What
China
we-
attacks Taiwan, would we use military force to support Taiwan?
Bill, I'm not going to get into hypotheticals, but listen, we need to make sure that we maintain a one China policy, but that includes supporting Taiwan's ability to defend itself, including what we need to do to ensure the freedom of the Taiwan Strait. But on the issue of China, we also, again, we cannot afford to have foreign policy that is myopic. We must be able to also, as it relates to China, continue to do the work that we have begun to deal with the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. That's a real issue.
You know, it'd be a really great way to stop the flow of fentanyl in the United States that kills about approximately 100,000 Americans per year. Oh yeah, a strong southern border, which she destroyed with her policies and ineptitudes, and or corruption. Maybe mix it all three.
Again, you talk to families around our country who on a constant, sadly, regular basis, meet parents and family members of people who have died from fentanyl, young people who have died from fentanyl.
Because you allowed it in.
Are we going to stop trying to stem the flow of fentanyl? And we have to deal with that and understand China's role in that and our ability to work with China to stop that flow, which we have begun to do and I'm going to continue to do. We need to make sure we have.
Then why did the rates of deaths from fentanyl not decrease past 4 years?
Open lines of communication with China, in particular, military to military. So these issues are all, they're
How about General Milley?
multifaceted.
So what about Russia and Ukraine? What does
One of my favorite quotes of Kamala Harris. Ukraine is a country in Europe. It's a smaller country. Russia is another country. It is a bigger country. The bigger country is going after the smaller country. I mean, again, the upside of Kamala Harris, if you hang out with her, you will sound like a genius in comparison. I mean, shoot, even my speech capabilities, if this were like a Fallout game, would get like vote for her. I know, election's gone, but never forget, she was so radical, she made Biden look sane by comparison. During the 20, what year was it? The primary where she was actually going up against Joe. When they asked about scary black rifles that are pejoratively called assault rifles, which is a scary term to make people scared of black rifles. Spoiler alert, they're all semi-automatic for the most part. Yeah, she said, oh yeah, well, I would just confiscate them on an executive order. To Biden's credit, again, I don't agree with pretty much any of his policies, but to his credit, credit is credit, where credit is due, so to say. I'm so confounded with my verbiage. Maybe I sound worse than Kamala Harris right there. But nevertheless, to Biden's credit, he said, you can't just ban AR-15s day one. You have to work with Congress. You can't just do an executive order for that. It's not your law. And where she just simply replied, well, watch me. And she said something, some other canned response like, oh, you focus on what we can do. I like to focus on what we can do. Some BS thing her handlers told her to say.
First time I've talked about it, but it's, I mean, I don't.
Yeah, she wanted to ban the most popular firearm in America. Again, when you look at what kind of rifles people are buying these days, well over 50% of all new rifles sold in the United States every year are of the AR-15 variant pattern. Partially because the patent is long expired, so anyone with proper licensing and manufacturing capabilities can make it. And Eugene Storms is a genius, which, ironically, he made the AR-15 at Armalite in California. Also, fun fact, it's called the Armalite rifle, also known as the AR-15, and he made the AR-10 first in 308. But yeah, she claims she's a gun owner. Tim Walz said the same thing, and then he couldn't load his own shotgun, which is a pretty simple piece of mechanical engineering. You just slide in the shells, and yet he found a way to jam it, apparently, and he couldn't load his own gun. Yeah, and then now she's been anti-gun her whole career, and now she's saying, oh yeah, I'm pro-gun, I own a gun. Oh, I wish there's a firearm expert in the room there to actually quiz her, because I guarantee you she's lying.
Talk about it a lot, but
So what kind of gun do you own, and when and why did you get it?
Glock 58. That's a joke, because those don't exist. I should do a caveat. Those don't exist yet. Glock makes so many variants We
You
were.
have said
We turned it from Biden Harris to Trump. JD Vance.
the country is exhausted
Yes.
with the rhetoric and the finger pointing. How about you? Are you exhausted?
I'll be exhausted on November 6th. Not now. Not now. Too much to do. Too much to do.
Madam Vice President, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Good to be with you.
Oh, can we just get just a little bit of a question, please, so I can get it over the shoulder shot?
Yeah.
1 second, just a second. Okay, thank you.
You need me talking?
Yes, sir.
Well, we were talking about how you're going to pay for it, and I mean, I truly do mean it. Your plans are logical, make logical sense.
Nice.
The way Washington works is not logical. So how are you going to convince a divided Congress that what you say, your plans, are something that they should all agree to and provide to the American people when they've shown no inclination to do that up to this point?
Is that what you needed?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. 30 seconds of silence, please, for room time.
It's as if Michael Scott from The Office came and tried to run for president. Yeah. There's a reason they didn't want this released. And basically, what is it? So I think Trump, did they sue the FCC to get this released? Yeah. One of the best comments comes from Jane Doe Citizens, has a meme of Trump that says, "Shit like this is why I won." Getting 212 likes. Fact check, true. Jordan says, "I thought I got through 2 minutes. I couldn't take any more." Getting 105 likes. Also, see some reappearing people in comments. Appreciate you taking time to tune in. I mean, yeah, her word salad. I'll give her credit. She actually didn't laugh and cackle the whole time. I mean, only once or twice. One of the best comments comes from Dallas assistant Bordazar saying, "Thank God is a Trump or the election map by county, which just shows only the cities voted for Kamala Harris in the areas that don't require voter ID. Pretty much overwhelming amount of the counties were all Trump. Even California by area square footage, like that was the craziest thing. I mean, I think that's also just how bad Trump and Kamala, or just how bad and inept Biden and Harris were." Someone says here's a full interview. It's just Michael Scott from The Office saying random things. Yeah. Kamala Harris. Let's do this one really quick. So Clip Keeper says, want to see what they didn't use for the broadcast? Here's a juxtaposition of the two clips where, again, one of the biggest controversies around the 60 minutes thing was, well, they edited it down to like 20 minutes, which as youth might say is sus, which thanks to the internet, I know is short for suspicious. But yeah, they also edited the crap out of it to make her sound more articulate. fight. But I was surprised he didn't lean more into, again, a lot of people think it's controversial to support Israel and that whole topic and all this stuff. I'm surprised he didn't lean into the business relationships the United States has with Israel, especially with, technology and cybersecurity. They're one of the biggest partners out there for software development, research development. And I'm surprised Trump didn't bring that to the forefront. They don't talk about that a lot when it comes to most people when they're talking about that. But yeah, Kamala Harris, that's a pretty good comedy for Saturday night. Her word salads were all over the place. And yeah, now the real question is, there's a lot of speculation. Is Trump going to try to sue 60 Minutes or their corporate entity? Do you think this qualifies as election interference? I mean, they cut out pretty much everything that made, well, not everything because she still looked foolish and ridiculous, but they cut out a lot of the things that made her look foolish and ridiculous. And they literally took out a lot of the substance to some of her answers. I mean, she mostly obfuscated for most of the questions, but she did give some substance, not very much. But yeah, in my opinion, my 3 cents used to be 2 cents, but 40-year hyperinflation gotta be 3 cents. I think that qualifies for election interference. But let me know your thoughts. Be fascinated to hear what you have to say. I appreciate everyone taking the time to tune in today. Thank you so much. It was a fun live stream, especially the folks who went to the the live chat there at the sidebar. So hope everyone has a great Saturday night. Thank you everyone for taking time to tune in. Again, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.